Welcome to a new era and new challenge in our remote learning. Today we're going to be embarking on our first quiz instructions. So I will upload the quiz tomorrow. It will be done on Google Slides. So the first part of this video will be how to fill in the quiz on Google Slides. The second part of this video will be quiz notes. Just like in class, I always give you notes of all the different types of questions and examples and how many there are. I will be doing the same thing in this video, so you are welcome to make your own practice test or practice quiz. You could take a picture, send it to one of your friends, and try each other's to help you study. I'm going to start by showing you just a quick video I made of my fake student account so that you can see how to go about filling out the quiz on Google Slides. I'm just doing a quick recording to show you how to fill out the Google form or the Google Slides. So for your test, I have put it in here so that you can actually fill in everything. So I would recommend first you go to Zoom and go to 100%. Now make sure it's not clicked on there anymore or it will keep going in. And then from here, you can scroll up through all the questions. So you have the questions here, and in each of these boxes, if you click where you would typically write, you can actually type everything that you want to put. So everywhere that you think there should be an answer, I have added a text box for you to be able to write your work in. Okay, I'm just putting in random numbers. So even in the ordered pairs, sorry that scrolled up, you can just click on it and put in your numbers, first number, second number. Okay, so it should be fairly easy to fill in. Even the little circles, see there, you can put your minus 8 or whatever it actually is. I'm making up numbers and putting the wrong answers on purpose. You'd put your uppercase letter. You think sequence E is linear even though there isn't one. Now, when you get to the bottom of the page, you'll have to look on the left-hand side and click on the next one. Okay? And this will have all the questions. Every one of these there's a paragraph. So you don't have to write in the whole paragraph, but I've given you lots of space. I didn't do anything for name and date because it'll already give that information to me when you submit it. Now the one thing I did also want to show you is when you get to the graphs, you are actually, you have a benefit of, you are just going to add a line. So if you said that your first point was 1 and 3 and your last point was 6 and 10, you can just go from one point to the end, and when you click off into the side, the line is there. So that is all I need from you, is to just draw those in. Once again, everywhere has a text box that you need it, and you can draw your line in here. So this is where you hit line, find your first point, find your last point, done. If you need to edit where it is, just click on it, grab one end, and drag it around, and it will change to go where you asked it to be. I've added text boxes for each of these as well, but you don't need to do any drawing. So it's just writing in letters and numbers and drawing your lines. When you are finished, I'll have all of the changes there, so you can just hit end. And when you go to view your assignment, it will have your copy. Each of you has a separate copy of the Google Slides, and you just turn it in, and then that will go to me and I will be able to look at it and mark it. For the first question, Larissa is making copies of different designs. So I have just made a separate design that's made up of squares and triangles, just like yours is, and they're asking you to start by completing the chart and then writing a formula. So for the chart, when you have one square, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. So I'm going to write a 4 under the first set of triangles. Then, if I had 2 squares, so I would double the number of designs, then I would have another group of 4. So I would have 8 triangles. If I had 3 squares, that means I would have triple. So I'd have 4, 8, 12. So I would have 12 triangles. Now, at the beginning of our unit, we probably would have looked and gone, okay, how do I get from 1 to 4? Well, I could multiply 4 or I could add 3. I could multiply 4 or I could add 6. I could multiply 4 or I could add 9. These aren't the same, so I'm going to multiply 4. So the number of squares times 4 equals the number of triangles. But you might also, now that we've gotten to the end of the unit, look and go, okay, well, it's going up by 4, so that means I have a gap of 4, and then I don't need to add anything else to get to the number of triangles. So you could put something like 4s equals t or s times 4 equals t. Either way is fine. Question 2 will give you a graph and a t-table. So it asks you to mark 3 grid points on the line segment. So I'm going to take a different color, and we are going to find 3 places where the line matches up where 2 lines intersect on a grid. So here are, I'll actually go above and beyond. I'll give you 4 places where they match. You would just have to choose 3 of them. And then you write those ordered pairs into your graph. So my first one would be 0 and 0. Remember, when we write ordered pairs, it always goes x, comma, y in alphabetical order. X is horizontal, y is vertical. So we would go 0, comma, 0. And then our second one would be 3 and 2. So I would write 3, comma, 2. If you put it in the opposite order, it would not work because x2, y3 is actually up here. So your x always comes first. Then we have 6 and 4. So 6, comma, 4. Once you have 3 points, you're all done. And then you just need to put the numbers into the chart for first number, second number. So first number is just your x value, and your second number is your y value. So you would go 0, 0, 3, 2, 6, 4. And you're done. Our next question, number 3, will give you 2 separate sequences. And your first job is to decide which of these sequences is linear by finding the gaps between terms. So if we look at our first one, to get from 16 to 14, we need to subtract 2. 14 minus 2 is 12. 12 minus 2 is 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. Now to get from 4 to 9, we need to go 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 plus 4 is 13. 13 plus 3 is 16. And 16 plus 2 is 18. So to decide which one is linear, well, you should be able to tell that A is linear because the gaps are all equal. They're all minus 2, whereas in B, they change from first we add 5, then we add 4, then we add 3, then we add 2. So question number 4 is going to give you a graph that has the cost of something. So I've gone with skate rentals. So you can rent them per day for a certain amount of money. So the 2 rental places are Boots and Blades and Ice Carvers. So the first part of the question is going to ask you which store charges a flat fee and how much that flat fee is. So if you remember from our previous units, A flat fee is when there's a base charge before you start multiplying things. So it costs you something before you even leave the store. So if we look at this at 0 days before you've started going, this first graph for boots and blades doesn't cost anything. But ice carvers, when you have rented them for 0 days, you've already been charged something. And it looks about halfway between 0 and 10, and so halfway between 0 and 10 is 5. Now you can put both of these answers into one sentence by simply saying that Ice Carvers has a $5 flat fee. So you could write that in a sentence. It costs $30 to rent skates from Ice Carvers for 5 days. Question C asks, how much would it cost to rent skates for 4 days from Boots and Blades? So if we look at Boots and Blades graph and we go to X value of 4 for 4 days, that would also cost $30. The final question says, if you need skates for 3 days, which store would you choose? So you can look at the 3-day mark and see that they are actually different. So you're trying to find, most likely, the lower one. So if we look at the bottom graph, that is Ice Carver. So you could say I would rent from Ice Carvers because it is cheaper. But that because is where you fit your explanation in. Make sure you include that. So question 5 is going to give you a t-table and then a graph. So your first job is to fill in the t-table. So they've given you the n values and your formula. So for each of those, if we had 3n minus 1, if our first n value is 1, then we will replace n with 1. So 3 times 1 is 3, minus 1 is 2. So that's what we put in our chart here. And then we do the next thing for 2. So 3n minus 1, now our n value is 2. 3 times 2 minus 1 is 6 minus 1 is 5. Remember to always do that multiplication first because of our order of operations. Then we'll figure out for an n value of 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, minus 1 is 8. And finally, 3n minus 1 is going to be 3 times 4 minus 1. 12 minus 1 is 11. Now to create our ordered pairs are just going to be our n value first and then our 3n minus 1 value second. So it'll just be like first number, second number, first number, second number. So 3, 8, 4, 11. Then they will give you a graph and ask you to fill it in with the ordered pairs. So remember, it always goes X and then Y, and our X value is horizontal, our Y value is vertical. So first we would find X1, Y2. So then we'll put our dot there, we'll plot our point. And then we're looking at X2, Y5. Plot our point, x3, y8, and finally x4, y11. Now, you are doing this on the computer, which means you don't have the ability to just put the 4 dots. So instead what I would do is take your line drawing tool and find your first point is 1 and 2, and your last point is 4 and 11. So just drag it to create a straight line that passes this way. I won't look for the 4 individual dots. I'll just look for a straight line. Question 6 will give you a series of figures that are made of shaded and unshaded figures. So I've got unshaded squares and shaded triangles. I know it's weird, but hopefully you can see it. And they ask you to write a formula for the number of shaded blocks in each figure. So I sometimes find it easiest to start with a t-table. So I'm going to have the figure number and the shaded number. So the first figure has 4 shaded triangles. The second figure, because each of these is 2 triangles, has 8 shaded triangles, and the third figure has 12 because there's 3 on every edge. So I would look to see what is my gap. Well, my gap is 4, so we're going to start with 4n, and then once we do that multiplication, 1 times 4 is 4. We don't need to add anything else, so our formula would just be 4n. Question B asks us to write a formula for the total number of blocks. So I could just add on and have my total blocks. So for each of those, I'd have to add 4 unshaded blocks on. So 4 plus 4 is 8, 8 plus 4 is 12, 12 plus 4 is 16. So for each of these, I'm just adding those 4 unshaded blocks. So my formula would stay with 4n, but now I would be adding 4 more because I have 4 unshaded blocks. Question C asks, in which formula does the number of blocks vary directly with the figure number? So remember, vary directly is a reference to direct variation, which is when there is only multiplication or division. In most of our examples, it's only multiplication. So if we looked at these two formulas, 4n plus 4 and 4n, 4n is the one that is only multiplication. So 4n, or the number of shaded blocks, varies directly. There's no additional addition that needs to happen. Question 7 is going to give you a sequence and ask you to fill in a table of values for the term number and the term values. So remember, the term number is literally just which order it comes in. So first, second, third, fourth. So we'd have the first number, second number, third number, fourth number. And they're going to ask you to extend the sequence to the 6th term number. So that's why they've put a 6 at the bottom. So really, this part is pretty simple. All we're doing is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we're going to look at our sequence. So our first number is 5. Our second number is 7. Our third number is 9. Our fourth number is 11. Now, to keep our sequence going, we need to make sure we have the same gap. So 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. So we're just adding 2 each time. So 11 plus 2 is 13, and 13 plus 2 is 15. The second part of this is going to ask you to create a graph for it. So because you're on the computer, you just need to create a line. So really, you just need to find your first and your last point. So your first point would be 1 and 5, so x value 1, y value 5, and your last point would be 6 and 15. So then you would just need to take and drag from one point to the other to create your straight line. There will be a bonus question. It has a part A and a part B, but I will not be giving you any hints or help for this one. You're on your own doing your own problem solving. To help you study, you can always make your own practice quiz and answer key. Feel free to let me know if you would like some help reviewing material before the quiz itself. It's okay if you're not doing the quiz right away tomorrow, but the quiz will be on Google Classroom tomorrow. Fill in the Google Slides. If you're not sure how it works, come back to this video and watch the beginning. And we will see how this new adventure goes.